morning, students. Let us discuss. I have given any homework that day. Last day any homework I had given. Okay. Now let us discuss from the first chapter, solid state. Now see, in solid state, the first and important topic is the difference between crystalline and amorphous. Okay, so distance and mainly isotropic and anisotropic. That point is very important. Then definitions of crystal lattice, unit cell, and then how to calculate the number of atoms in unit cell. Like in FCC, we know 4 atoms, in BCC 2 atoms. Now if it is asked that calculate the number of atoms in FCC, then you have to draw and then you will calculate. Then relation between radius and edge length, A and R, for simple cube, FCC and BCC. To derive this relation is very important. Derivation of relation between A and R. And then finally calculation of packing fraction or packing efficiency. So that derivation is important. Then numericals are there. Numericals related to density, that is 100% sure it will come. Not only in home examination, in board also. Related to density. Voids, they have reduced the syllabus. Now void is not there in your syllabus. Then properties or characteristics of crystalline solids, NaCl, copper, diamond and graphite. These are still there. And reasoning questions related to these metals or these elements or compounds can also come. That why diamond is the hardest material. So reasoning question, the answer should be very perfect. Why diamond is the hardest material, or why graphite is used as lubricant, why graphite can conduct electricity, diamond cannot. So these reasoning questions, if it is asked, then the answer should be very clear, proper answer, with no need of writing a whole page answer, only 2-3 lines, but points should be very correct. The defects, all the defects are there in your syllabus. What is F-center? That is a very common and important question. The reasoning questions like why Schottky defect density it decreases, we all know. Why it decreases? Why alkali metal halides, they do not show Frenkel defect? Why on heating NaCl in sodium vapor it gives yellow color? Why KCl on heating in potassium vapor it gives violet color? LiCl on heating in lithium vapor gives pink color. Then on heating ZNO it gives yellow color. The impurity defect is also there. So the definitions and related to impurity reasoning questions are very common. It will be asked. But again, I am telling you, for reasoning questions, your answer should be very clear and perfect and to the point. Like suppose I ask you that why heating NaCl in sodium vapor, it gives yellow color. So what will be your answer? No need to explain. Hardly it will be of 1 or 2 marks. No need to explain the whole procedure. How you will give the answer? Who will tell the answer? On heating NaCl in sodium vapor, it gives yellow color. Why? Yes, Ayushi.
Yes, because due to metal excess defect, anionic vacancies are there and F centers are created.
Yes. First, you will give the whole name of the defect and then F center. Okay, don't forget to write F center because F center is the key word. If you have written the whole name of the defect but you have not written F center, then full marks you will not get because F centers are the means you can say they are responsible for giving color. So a short answer but perfect. Then if I ask you that why alkali metal halides, they do not show Frenkel defect. Alkali metal halides. Any example of alkali metal halides? Any example of alkali metal halide? Any example you send? Okay, NaCl is an example. Alkali metal halides. They do not show Frenkel defect. Why? Yes, NaCl is first group and 17th group compounds. Why they do not show Frenkel defect? No. Medha, your answer is incorrect. No doping is here. Mansi, you want to give the answer? Yes. Yes, Mansi?
Ma'am, as their cations are large in size, and for this defect, cations should be smaller in size.
It should be smaller is not the clear answer. Why it should be smaller? Why the large one cannot? What is the main problem with large cations? Asma Siddiqui, what voids means what voids? You should give the at least few words you write.
As the cations leave the lattice point and occupy the interstitial spaces, hence they should be small in size.
Yes, because large size cations they cannot occupy the interstitial spaces. That's all. Okay, NaCl, Na plus, K plus, they are very big in size. And Frenkel defect is a type of interstitial defect. So cations generally they go and occupy the interstitial positions. So for interstitial positions, small sizes are required. Okay, suppose in the class it is totally congested, one lean and thin person can be accommodated in the interstitial spaces. But if a fatty person comes, then we cannot accommodate them in that congested class. So cations of alkali metals, they are large in size, so they cannot accommodate themselves or they cannot occupy the interstitial spaces. That's all. So this type of and definition of F center is very important. Electrical properties, N-type, P-type, band theory, it is not there in the reduced syllabus. Okay. In magnetic properties also only dia and paramagnetic properties are there. Ferri and ferro they have removed. Now if I ask you that what is diamagnet? What is the what is diamagnetism? Who will answer? What is diamagnetism? Which type of compounds or ions will show diamagnet and paramagnet behavior? That I hope you all know. But what is diamagnetism? Yes, Medha?
Miss, diamagnetism is miss, it arises when all the electrons are paired and it shows a weak repulsion in the magnetic field.
Okay, good. So diamagnetism means if that some diamagnetic species you keep in the magnetic field, it will show weak repulsion. And we know how to find out the magnetic property. And in paramagnetic, just opposite, that if a paramagnetic substance you keep in the magnetic field, it will show weak attraction and it contains unpaired electrons. Now, if I ask you that you find out that cuprous ion will be dia or paramagnetic. Cuprous. I hope you all know the atomic number of copper. You should know at least up to atomic number 30. Vaishnavi, you are going wrong. Vaishnavi, copper has 29 atomic number, but it shows exceptional configuration. That you have to keep in mind. At last, you will get 4s1 3d10. Cuprous means copper plus 1. So 4s0 3d10. So 10 will be totally fulfilled and all electrons are paired, so it will be diamagnetic. Now in solution chapter, Henry law and Raoult law statements can be asked. Then Henry law's applications, 1 or 2 applications is also asked. And in Raoult's law, this whole chapter is important. In Raoult's law, you know what are ideal solution and what is non-ideal solution. Which type of solutions show positive deviation and which shows negative deviation. That you will explain on the basis of interaction. Interaction between AA, BB and AB. Like this you will explain. If something is asked related to positive or negative deviation, then only you will explain it through the interaction between AA, BB and AB. And azeotropic mixtures also, like maximum boiling azeotropes. Which type of solutions they show maximum boiling azeotropes? Which shows negative deviation from Raoult's law, isn't it? Now, why these type of solutions which show negative deviation from Raoult's law, they show they make maximum boiling azeotrope? What is the reason behind that? The solutions which show negative deviation from Raoult's law, they give maximum boiling azeotropes. But why? Because in negative deviation from Raoult's law, what happens? Total pressure is less than PA and PB. This is negative deviation. In negative deviation, it happens, no? That means the total vapor pressure, it decreases. When the vapor pressure will decrease, then boiling point will increase. So vapor pressure and boiling point, they always go opposite. Yes. So this is only the reason. Then the reason for why minimum boiling azeotropes are shown by those solutions which show minimum positive deviation from Raoult's law. Again, the answer will be like this only, because in positive deviation of Raoult's law, the total pressure is more. In positive deviation, P is more than P and PP. So there is increase in total vapor pressure. So boiling point will decrease. So minimum boiling azeotropes are formed. Minimum azeotropic mixtures can be the components of this azeotropic mixtures can be separated by distillation method or not. You can separate the components of an azeotropic mixture by distillation or not, or some other method you have to find out. Yes, we cannot separate, because at one temperature only both the components will start vaporizing. We cannot separate the components of azeotropic mixture by distillation method. So some other methods we have to use. Now, after azeotropic mixture, colligative properties. What is the definition of colligative property? That is 1 mark question, very important. Then 4 colligative properties you have studied. What is the main purpose behind this studying this colligative property? To find out the molar mass of the solute. Now, in these colligative properties, now one more question can be asked, that why on adding a non-volatile solute in a solvent, the boiling point of the solution increases. We all know this is a fact. If we add a non-volatile solute in a volatile solvent, the boiling point of the solution will increase. But why? How many of you know the answer? When I was teaching, then I gave the example of in boiling water, if you add sugar, then the water stops boiling. Then after a few seconds again, okay, Medha, you have said that non-volatile solute has less vapor pressure. If it is non-volatile, then no vapor pressure. Non-volatile means it cannot make vapor. Okay. So if your solute is non-volatile, then no question of less vapor pressure, no vapor pressure. So it is neither making vapors and it is occupying the surface. So this non-volatile solute is neither making vapors nor it is allowing the volatile solvent to create vapors because it has occupied the surface. Okay, Heba, you have written vapor pressure of solution decreases. That is correct. But why? Why it decreases? The reason is that I have told that non-volatile solute, it occupies the surface of the solution. And it is a non-volatile. Okay, it is a non-volatile solute, so it will neither create vapor nor it will allow the volatile solvent to create more vapors. That is the reason total vapor pressure of the solution will decrease and boiling point will increase. Then in colligative properties, the first is relative lowering of vapor pressure. So numericals can be asked. The elevation in boiling point, numerical can be asked, and one definition is also there, that is ebullioscopic constant. Definition of ebullioscopic constant. So that is very easy one. Ebullioscopic constant, delta TB is equals to Kf into M. So delta, you take the M as one molality, then delta TB equals to Kb. According to that, you can make the definition, isn't it? So definition of ebullioscopic constant is important. Then depression in freezing point, the next colligative property. Here also numericals will be asked and definition of cryoscopic constant is important. Why salts are sprinkled on the road to clear the snow on the road? Okay, in hilly areas where heavy snowfall is there, to clear the snow on the road, what people they do, they sprinkle some salt, any type of salt. Why? It starts melting. Okay, it decreases the freezing point. It decreases the freezing point because we know that on adding a non-volatile solute, the freezing point will decrease. And we are using electrolyte. Why we are using electrolyte? Okay, they are decreasing the freezing point below 0. But why electrolyte we are using? We can use another very more ions. Electrolytes will give you more ions. Any other answer? It is related to Van 't Hoff factor I. Now see students, Van 't Hoff factor they have reduced from the syllabus. Okay, numericals will not come that you calculate I or you calculate degree of dissociation or degree of association. But reasoning questions related to Van 't Hoff factor will come. Otherwise, in this whole chapter, nothing will remain. Electrolytes whose Van 't Hoff factor is always, whose value of I is always more than 1. Isn't it? That you all know, I think. The value of I for electrolyte is always more than 1. So, more the value of I, more will be the value of colligative property. That means more the value of I, more will be the depression in freezing point. That is why electrolytes are used. So, reasoning questions related to I can come. Numericals will not come. Then, all these are solutions. If I ask you, which solution will have the highest boiling point? Which solution will have the highest boiling point? Yes, Asma, your answer is correct. K2SO4. K2SO4. So on the basis of I hope you have calculated, isn't it? For KCl, the value of I will be 2. For acetic acid, the value of I will be. Okay, if I ask you that which solution will have lowest boiling point? Lowest boiling point. Yes, acetic acid. Because acetic acid associates. Value of I will be half. No Asma. For urea, no association, no dissociation. So for urea, the value of I will remain 1. But for acetic acid, it will become half. Because it will associate. So if for acetic acid, the value of boiling point will be, the solution will be minimum. Then osmotic pressure comes. The definition of osmotic pressure is also important. And numericals can also come. Numericals related to isotonic solutions can also come. But one more thing, students. Suppose if any numerical I have given, I have not asked you to calculate I, neither to calculate alpha, nothing. But still, you will, once you will see the solute properly, if it is an electrolyte, that means some value of I you will get. That value you will put in the formula. You will multiply your formula. Either it is elevation in boiling point formula, or depression in freezing, or osmotic pressure, or relative lowering of vapor pressure. If your value of I is not coming 1, then you have to multiply it with that. I hope you all know this. So be very careful about this. Okay. Suppose in the numerical, your solute is, suppose it is calcium chloride. And it is written that it has totally dissociated, total dissociation. And you have to calculate, suppose it is related to elevation in boiling point. Elevation in boiling point. Now for CaCl2, what will be the value of I? 3. So value of I is 3. So here you have to put this value of I. Otherwise your answer will come wrong. If it is acetic acid, then you have to put the value of I 0.5. So this much you have to do. That's all in this chapter. So numericals, I hope 2-3 numericals can be asked. Okay, now if I ask you that like many colligative properties, 4 colligative properties we have studied. So if I ask you that among all these 4 colligative properties, which colligative property you will prefer to use to calculate the molar mass of the solute? Among these 4 colligative properties, which colligative property? Yes, Asma, osmotic pressure. Okay, now Asma will explain why. Osmotic pressure is the best one we can say, and most preferably used also. Asma, why? Accurate measurement. Asma is saying because it will give accurate measurement. Okay, she is correct, because relative lowering of vapor pressure or elevation in boiling point or depression in freezing point, these relative lowering of vapor pressure. That lowering of vapor pressure is very, very minute. So it is not easy to measure that difference. Or elevation in boiling point, that temperature delta TB, that is very minute, or delta TF, that differences are very minute. So it is not easy to measure them. Getting my point? But osmotic pressure, that is relatively higher, so we can measure the osmotic pressure very easily. And one more advantage is that for osmotic pressure, we are not going to, neither boiling is required, nor freezing is required, isn't it? At room temperature also osmotic pressure, this process can go. So neither boiling nor freezing. And while calculating the molar mass of biomolecules like proteins, carbohydrates, if we will boil them or if we will freeze them, then always it is a chance that they will get denatured. They will get destroyed. So that is also a problem. That is also a point that osmotic pressure is used preferably, because no boiling, no freezing is required. So there is no chance of getting denaturation of biomolecules like proteins, carbohydrates, etc. So this is also one point. So osmotic pressure we will say is the most preferably used. Now if I ask you that why molality is used preferably over molarity to show the concentration of the solution. Small m is used preferably, not capital M. Why? No, Shashank, your answer is not correct. How it will be easy to measure mass? Molality depends on mass, and molarity also, no? Number of moles in both the cases we have to calculate. So what is the difference in the formula you just find out? Molality and molarity. What is the difference? Number of moles in both the cases are there. In molarity, we use number of moles of solute upon volume of solution in liter in molarity, and in small m, number of moles of solute upon mass of solvent in kg. Mass we use. and in molarity volume. So on changing the temperature, volume will also change. That means we can say molarity depends on volume, but molarity does not. That is the main thing. Dependence on temperature. Yes, Aruna, you want to say something? Wait. Yes. Yes, Aruna. Aruna, you have raised your hand.
That's the same thing I wanted to say.
So that is the main thing, that depending on temperature. Now electrochemistry, you all know that two types of cells are there, galvanic or electrochemical cells and electrolytic cells. And two energies, chemical and electrical energies are interchanged. Now who will change which type of energy to which type, that also we know. No need to discuss that. Chemical to electrical or electrical to chemical. Now small definitions are there in electrochemical cells, like what is electrode potential, what is cell potential. So all the small things are there. Then SHE, standard hydrogen electrode. If it is of 2 marks, then you will draw also SHE. Then one small definition, at standard condition, how to calculate standard cell potential? E naught cathode minus E naught anode. In the electrochemical cell, more negative the standard reduction potential, more powerful reducing agent the element is. This all you know, like lithium is the most powerful reducing agent because it has maximum negative reduction potential. Chlorine is the most powerful oxidizing agent because it has maximum positive reduction potential. Isn't it? Then how to write the cell representation? That also 1 mark question is asked. Write the cell representation. And then Nernst equation is at least one question related to Nernst equation you will get. And then from Nernst equation, you will not get standard cell potential. You will get only cell potential, isn't it? Nernst equation will give you the cell potential only, not standard. And whatever cell potential you have calculated from Nernst equation, if you use that cell potential to calculate Gibbs energy, then you will get only Gibbs energy, not standard Gibbs energy. And you all know that how to find out the feasibility of the process. If delta G is negative or if cell potential is positive, then the process will be spontaneous. Now, if I ask you that metallic and this electrolytic conductance, on increasing the temperature, the conductance of metallic conductor will increase or decrease on increasing the temperature. Increasing the temperature, the conductance in metallic conductor will increase or decrease. No one is giving answer. So in physics also you have studied. Okay, Medha, it will decrease. You are correct. On increasing, yes, Adit. On increasing the temperature, the conductance of metallic conductor will decrease. It will go down. Why? Why? Okay, that is a common answer because R will increase. Because we know R and conductance, they go just reverse. But why R increases? Why resistance will increase? This answer is suitable for class 9. Conductance will decrease because R will increase. But why? Okay, what happens in electrochemical cells, in electrolytes? In electrolytes, that means in a battery or in a cell. No, Aditya, your answer is not. Okay, Asma, collision word you will not use. Kernels and free electrons, collision. Okay, see, here it is a subjective type questions are asked. So your word should be very proper. You will write because the vibrating kernels will create obstacle in the path of free flowing electrons. In case of metallic conductor, I am saying. In metallic conductors, the constituent particles are positively charged kernels in the sea of delocalized electrons. This is the constituent particles of metallic metals. And when they are heated, that not only electron gets the kinetic energy, but the positive cations also get kinetic energy. Electrons are light, or you can say weightless, so they start moving, but the positive cations, they are heavy, they cannot move, but they vibrate in their position. But while vibrating, they create obstacle in the path of flowing electrons. That means the resistance increases and conductance decreases. Okay? But what happens in electrolytes? If electrolyte is heated, then conductance of that electrolyte will increase. Why it will increase? Because in electrolytes, the constituent particles are cations and anions. We have cathode and anode. Both cations and anions, they have the opposite path. No one is coming in one another's path. They both have separate paths, separate direction. So after getting kinetic energy, their mobility will increase. So very fast they will move towards their opposite electrodes. No one is going to create obstacle in anyone's path. That is the main reason. Obstacle is not there because both are having different opposite directions, cations and anions. Okay, so that is the thing. But in metallic conductors, the thing is totally different. Now, many small equations are there, like equation related to kappa, then this molar conductivity. Now, see definition of kappa and definition of molar conductivity and molar conductance and equivalent conductance. These three definitions are also important. And numericals related to these 100% it will come. And don't forget to write the unit after finding the result. Okay, now how limiting molar conductance is also there. Limiting molar conductance. I hope you remember limiting molar conductance. This one. Or molar conductance at infinite dilution, or molar conductance at zero concentration. Now, how the molar conductance and conductivity depends on the concentration of the solution. That topic is very important. One graph also was there. On increasing the dilution, on increasing IN, on increasing the dilution, how the conductivity will change. How? It will increase or it will decrease. On increasing the dilution, kappa, conductivity, or you can say specific conductance. On increasing the dilution, IN, kappa will increase or decrease. No, Medha, you are wrong. Kappa will increase or decrease. Yes. Now all are writing decrease. Okay, kappa will decrease. If you add more and more water in the solution, that means you are increasing the dilution, then kappa will decrease. But why? Why kappa will decrease? Yes, Mansi?
Thus, as the kappa depends on the number of ions per unit volume and on increasing the
Okay, and
as the volume increases, kappa decreases.
yes. Okay. That is only the answer. The value of kappa depends on the number of particles or number of ions per unit volume. So when you will add water, the number of ions per unit volume will decrease. So kappa will also decrease. But what happens to the molar conductance? Molar conductance, this one. If you increase the dilution, IN, you are adding water, then molar conductance will increase. Okay, Medha, you are correct. Medha, you will give the reason also. Okay, Medha, tell.
This molar conductivity increases with increase in dilution because it depends on the number of ions furnished.
Okay, it depends only on the number of ions. So more water you will add, more ionization or more dissociation will occur, more number of ions will be released. So these are the simple things. But there is a little difference in strong and weak electrolyte. That is very clear from the graph. In strong electrolyte, after extrapolating the graph, we can get the value of limiting molar conductivity, isn't it? But in case of weak electrolytes, after a gap, it is continuously increasing. Rapidly it is increasing and it is going just parallel to the axis. That means on extrapolating also, we will not get limiting molar conductance for weak electrolytes. So how to get the limiting molar conductance of weak electrolytes? By Colrosh law. So Colrosh law's statement is important. Okay, Colrosh law's statement is important. And after writing statement, a small formula also you can show. In Colrosh law, simple numericals can be asked. If the limiting ionic conductivities of all the ions is given, then after writing the equation, you can calculate the limiting molar conductivity of the solute. Two, three numericals you have done while I was teaching. I hope 2, 3 different type of numericals you have done. Yes or no? So once you see all those numericals, then Faraday's law. Faraday's law, first law is more important than the second law, and its statement also can be asked, and numericals are also asked, and it will be asked because very reduced syllabus, so this will be asked. And I don't think any confusion is there in Faraday's equations, that numericals related to Faraday's law. this? Don't need to calculate also. Orally you can do it. Okay, if I ask you, okay, leave it. Now next one you do. That ionic equation you have to use, no? Ionic equation you will make. Then you will see how many electrons are transferred. Yes, 2s. So in this ionic equation, Cu2 plus, it is taking 2 electrons, it's 2 moles of electrons, so it is 2 Faraday charge. In the same way, here also you do. How to find out the charge on Mn? The charge on Mn you have to find. So find the oxidation number of Mn. You all know how to calculate oxidation number. So you calculate oxidation number of Mn here. No, Vaishnavi, Anubhav, Abhinav, you all are wrong. First you calculate the oxidation number. What is the oxidation number? What is the oxidation number of Mn? Plus 7 will be the oxidation number. That means here Mn is plus 7 and here it is in. Okay, sorry. Yes, your answer is correct. 7. Vaishnavi, your answer is correct. Abhinav, Shashank, yes. Actually, I have written the wrong question. Here it should be Mn plus. Okay. Now you give the answer. Yes, 5 Faraday. 5 Faraday is the charge required. Isn't it? So once you read all the chapters, first you read all the chapters and then you will go through the numericals. So 3 chapters. Now in organic also we have done so many questions. Now, like this question in organic. These are two compounds. Which one will show SN1 mechanism? Which one will show SN1 mechanism faster? This is first one. This is second. Yes, first one. First one. Cause it is tertiary alkyl halide. So compound A will be Grignard reagent. It will be Grignard reagent. RMGPR. And B will be one question was there that why while preparing Grignard reagent anhydrous condition is required. You will get this answer from there. So let me see anyone is giving the answer or not. Yes, Ayushi, you are correct. Okay, Prachi, your answer is A. Okay, Prachi. It is not phenyl. Prachi, it is not phenyl. It is cyclohexane ring. So it is cyclohexyl magnesium bromide. And then when it will come in contact with water, then always you will get hydrocarbon. This portion will give you this type of byproduct. This is the byproduct, but the main product will be this H will go here. So you will get cyclohexane. Always when Grignard reagent comes in contact with water, it will give hydrocarbon. Not only water, with alcohol also it does the same. Alcohol is also having OH. So when it comes in contact with alcohol, then also it will give hydrocarbon. Now students, in the first semester, I have not told you that how to increase or decrease the carbon chain. Means, okay, you can increase the carbon chain by using Grignard reagent. We have studied in preparing primary, secondary and tertiary alcohol. Okay. But if I say that to convert methanol into ethanol, so one carbon you have to increase. So there is a process by using cyanide, but that I have not told you till now. And now I am not going to tell also any new thing. Okay, in aldehyde chapter, again, these things will come. In aldehyde, there is nitrogen containing compounds. There we will study. Find out this compound A. It is Woods reaction, isn't it? And in Woods reaction, it gives symmetrical type of alkanes. So this alkane is also symmetrical. Now make two halves, two equal halves. And at one half, add any type of halogen. So this is symmetrical. So take one half. You also see here, and any halogen, because we know that lights only undergo this reaction. So this is the compound which will move through this reaction to give this compound, isn't it? This is only the compound, no? This reaction will give this hydrocarbon. Then you make the other compound B. Again the same, you will get the Grignard reagent. So you will get B with B. This will be B. And if you hydrolyze it, then you will get C. That is a pure hydrocarbon. What will be C? Pure hydrocarbon means remove this and you put only X. So this will become C. Okay. So you just read the chapters, because more you will read the chapter, every time you will get one or two new points in each and every page. Self study, do self study.